Hello, this is OC Skywatch. It is the 10th of November 2015. It's around 10:50 a.m. and well, I'm back from Sacramento. I wasn't gone for more than 3 days total. And well, there's been a lot of funny activity going on in the Pacific, and I'm going to cover that as much as I can here because I didn't have any access to my computer for those few days while this low pressure was being squeezed down from the northwest. Anyways, I'm going to try to make this as short as possible. Okay, this is November 9th, 030 to 4 Zulu. Well, there's a big area of high pressure to the west of this low pressure right here, and this high pressure right here that they're building up, I believe, dragged the system over here from near the Aleutian Islands. That's my only logical explanation. I don't see another way how that would have happened. Anyways, you can see that there's a bunch of heavy aerosols that are being deployed here, and that's going to keep the jet stream flat and prevent any low pressure systems from forming inside of this area of moisture. There's also an area of dry air expanding west of these aerosols. So yeah, this is in fact a manufactured high pressure system. Over to the south, what we have is an unusual area of expanding dry air. Let's slow this down a bit. It's a very unusual amount of dry air, and it extends all the way from over here to the front over here. It's very unusual all around here. Also, ahead of the front, they were hammering us when I was heading back down. The beginning is where the aerosols show up. Let me stop this for a second. Yeah, very heavy stuff. Okay. And, well, surprisingly, there's rain developing off the coast, and that's going to head in. But still, man, ahead of the front, heavy aerosols. I think the aerosols here were being used to migrate moisture from this front all the way over to the east. That's going to create some nasty weather in the Midwest in the next upcoming few days. Seriously, this front was sprayed in a lot. We did run into a pocket of rain when heading back, but it wasn't this. It was more from over here. Once you got a little bit south of Modesto, the rain stopped. So yeah, this was quite a few hours back. I actually took this map right when I got back. Anyways, yeah, just a bunch of spray here all along this thing. Then there's that unusual tongue of dry air behind this front. That could be to minimize the rainfall totals, and also could be part of the moisture migration process. Kind of bizarre. Okay, let's go into NASA Worldview right now and show you what they were doing in front of this front. I did have a shortwave map, but it kind of screwed up a bit, so I couldn't use it. So I had to press X here. Anyways, yeah, ahead of this front, there's a bunch of weird things here. Bunch of lines. They're like playing tick-tac-toe in the valley. I'm actually gonna insert a few pictures right here just showing how bad it was. Very, very funny formations indeed. Over here's rain, though I feel that this rain was being suppressed, which is not good. Ooh, there's actually, over to the west quite a ways, there's a bunch of these unusual formations. These hard boundaries are an indication of dry air being pressed down. Of course, I would expect that because this whole high pressure ridge is not natural. And a bunch of aerosols as well. Nothing too out of the ordinary. It's a very weird opening here, I must admit. Scaly. It's like some sort of weird frequency all around. Very, very weird. Okay, let's look at this front one last time. I'm sure there's a bunch of waviness around. Saw some when I was heading down from Sacramento area. Oh, right here. This is a valley. Mountains are over here, so pretty sure there must have been another force causing this. Coast was getting hammered as well. Actually, all along this front was being hammered. Off the coast, though, seems like there's a weird opening and a bunch of waviness. Kind of suspicious activity over here. Oh, that looks very weird. Looks very, very scaly. So yeah, there probably is dry air here. Moving on. This is November 9th, 1430 to 18 Zulu. Well, there's very, very heavy aerosols being laid to keep this high pressure going, prevent rain and whatnot. Let's slow this down a bit just to show how heavy it is. See these lines suddenly appearing. Anyways, this area of dry air over to the southwest and south is expanding still. There's a very weird dry air tongue across Southern California. There's no rain here, I can guarantee you that. Up to the north though, there's some rain, but it looks like it's being suppressed. You see these things right here, they look like aerosols, and there's also not much rotation here in this location. Let's speed it up. It's leaning more towards clockwise in North State. Down toward the south though, it's rain. See, this part of the state needs to have the rain because there's a bunch of reservoirs up here. Sierra's got a little bit of rain and snow, but it's not nearly enough though to do much. Very weird activity up towards the north. Over here there's moisture and a bunch of aerosols being laid down here. Seems like a lot of the moisture out of this front is being, well, rerouted. California's being sucked dry. This thing would have been a massive, massive low pressure if they just left it alone and did nothing with it. But they cannot do that. See a little bit of air getting drier west of this counterclockwise flow. That's another front trying to develop, I think. This one right here to the south and southwest has pretty much been destroyed. There's no rain in here. And this thing's curling up into another low pressure. It's very bizarre. Mother Nature's trying to reach the lowest energy state by creating a single large low pressure, but she's unable to. Okay, let's show very briefly a few relative humidity maps. This is 500 millibars, 18,000 feet, going from November 8th, 12 Zulu to November 9th, 12 Zulu, 24 hours. There's a lot of stuff that happens. This right here's the front, and behind it there's an unusual area of dry air. It's very bizarre. You wouldn't normally expect that. 6 hours later, it seems to be a lot more dry air in this region. This air is very, very dry. The first front here is pretty much being suppressed. It's not as moist as it was. There's very dry air opening here. Okay, 6 hours later after that, this is when the storms were bubbling up here. Mother Nature was trying to do what it could to bring rain here into California, but You can see that as the thing heads more towards the south, it's pretty much shut down. See this huge area of air over to the northwest of this front, and over towards the southwest. It's getting drier, and there's not going to be a whole lot of rain here in Southern California. Some areas got some, but in Orange County, as usual, we got nothing. This is 6 hours later. Very, very unusual area of dry air behind this front. The front's drying out. Not a whole lot of moisture in Southern California. This point right here is pretty much where the heavy rain stopped. Southern California didn't get much at all, as I said. Still, look at this tongue right here of dry air. It's just, yeah, it's all along this thing. Okay, this is 6 hours later. Again, there's very, very dry air down here. It's very unusual. It's the tongue all the way down here. It's expanded greatly. There's not much left of this front here, and of course all the moisture's up here. The aerosols help carry moisture over towards the east. They need a lot of energy for their engineered snowstorms over central US, so that could be one of the reasons why they're sucking the system dry. No, it's not okay. Up towards Northern California, this is the low pressure core right here. This thing actually came down like a notch. They turned a good low pressure system from the Aleutian Islands all the way into a weird notch. It's almost like what we held a week ago. Continuing on. Okay, this is shortwave, same time as the water vapor, and you see right here that there's an unusual opening near Southern California. That's not good at all. This was yesterday morning. We were anticipating some sort of rainfall, but it never came. And up to the north, seems like there's dry air being pressed down here. It's just a weird opening. There's a little notch here. I think they're pressing dry air all around this thing. Because if you look, the clouds are disappearing over here mysteriously. Look at all this moisture that we could have gotten. It's all to the east now. Of course there's a bunch of aerosols. Look at that. You know the aerosols by their features. So wispy and not very heavy. Anyways, there's rain down in Southern California that's trying to develop right here, but unfortunately though, there's just too much dry air. All these clouds are being shoved off. Recently they've been doing the dry air tactic, shoving off any sort of potential precipitation. Towards the desert over here, there's heavy aerosols. They appear out of nowhere. This is pretty much what we're left with here. Not much rain, so to speak of, just a bunch of clouds and dry air. It's just not good. Oh, shoot, there's a helicopter outside. Just recently there's been a lot of helicopters around. I think they're the sheriff department. Anyways. Okay, this is visible. Again, you see a very, very weird opening in the clouds. It's kind of like as these clouds over here hit towards Point Conception, they disappear. It's an act of warfare against the state. Both Southern California and Northern California are getting their rain suppressed because of aerosols and dry air. Let's slow this down a bit. Very bizarre opening, and up towards the northern part of the state, there are some aerosols. I mean, it kind of looks like it. There's not much counterclockwise, so to speak. That could also be an indication of dry air being pressed down around here. A lot of rain hit San Francisco in the valley. That could be part of a psychological operation. Try to convince everyone the drought is over, but it's not. When they're suppressing all this rain that should have came into California, it's an act of terrorism. There's a very, very interesting area of opening over towards this high pressure. Okay, let's stop this. That's very bizarre. That doesn't look very natural because these boundaries are very hard. It's all part of a operation. There's a lot of aerosols up here. Very blatant right in this location. You see these little streaks, or the shadows of them. See, look at that. This is November 9th, 17 to 2030 Zulu. There's a bunch of dry air being pressed down in this region. See the thing expanding. Aerosols are helping the ionospheric heaters as usual. There's a very strong high pressure going here. Let's slow this down. See the aerosols being lain. Very blatant. They didn't bother photoshopping. Okay, this low pressure system, there's clockwise on the top and a bunch of aerosols and whatnot. There's an area of dry air deepening to the west of this low pressure swirl. You know that this thing's being suppressed. Also to the south, the dry air is getting even bigger. It's very, very weird. I'm going to tell you that. Very interesting near Hawaii. Yeah, I have an idea of what they're trying to do. They're trying to prevent this thing right here from turning into a massive area of low pressure because the water here is so warm. It's around 80 or so degrees. And with that water, this thing could have turned into a massive thing. So much moisture around. They cannot let that happen, so of course there's a lot of aerosols being laid down and even looks like dry air is being pressed here. These things are trying to bubble up, but they're just denied. Towards the south, more aerosols. They look very, very weird. Kind of feathery. However you want to describe them. Anyways, this is going to create a Kelvin inversion and help prevent this thing from turning into a massive area of low pressure. And also, over here, I think this area of dry air to the east of that thing is isolating this moisture field from over here. That's going to reduce the amount of precipitation reaching into California. A lot of moisture is being rerouted over towards the central U.S. This area of low pressure to the east of this one is turning kind of big. Okay, this is the same time, and well, very, very unusual opening towards the coast of Southern California. Mother Nature wants to bring clouds over here, but unfortunately though, with the dry air descending, it's not being allowed to. I mean, look, this whole area looks weird. There's a little roll cloud. See this whole thing, it's pretty circular. Clouds are disappearing as they head over. You could bet that this front was suppressed and the moisture was sucked out of it and just goes on to the east. This is where all our moisture is going. What should have fell in California is just going away. Seems like there's an opening over here happening up towards the northwest. I don't know, it just seems a little bit odd right here. Also, this high pressure region, now you're starting to see these unusual pockets expanding. Very, very bizarre, and that's in the same exact area where they were building this high pressure ridge. That's not natural. It's all along this thing. Yeah, not good. Okay, this is a few hours later, November 9th, 1830 to 22 Zulu. High pressure thing keeps growing. Looks like they're about to merge with each other. These clouds just keep disappearing. Very weird, if I do say so myself. Again, there's aerosols here showing up in the first frame or so. See, right here. The aerosols are helping with this high pressure. Again, there's still very weird opening near Southern California coast. It's like a little boundary over Orange County. I'm thinking this thing, the ionospheric heaters on either San Nicolas Island or Isla Guadalupe is causing this.
Could also be a mobile platform.
They're in the vicinity. They can easily reach over here. San Nicolas Island is right here, by the way. Where my mouse is, it doesn't show up too well, but hey, it's a Navy base. Just a weird area over here. Seems a little bit more open than desired. It's kind of weird. Okay, this is water vapor here, and you still see the dry air and the high pressure growing. It's getting deeper. And I also see the aerosols being laying all around here. Over towards the east a bit of this high pressure, there's more air getting drier. Again, a lot of heavy aerosol activity and clockwise activity towards northern part of the state near Reading. There's no rain up here really. Maybe right here, but it's very negligible. It's not going to help with the drought one bit. Down towards the south, the air's still pretty dry. This front that's trying to develop is going to drag into here in the next few frames. There's not going to be much precipitation, I'll tell you that. Just look at these aerosols for a second. You know aerosols by their features. These look all wispy. There's also clockwise over here. Not very deep, but it's enough to create a rotation. Okay, this is a 500 millibar relative humidity map, November 9th, 18 Zulu. You see there's a lot of dry air around here. There's a tongue right where this front was screwed up, and over towards the north and northwest there's a massive dry air tongue. Very, very bizarre. You could bet that they're trying to minimize rainfall and migrate moisture. About 6 hours later, the dry air thing is deepening. There's also a noticeable dry air pocket off the coast near Eureka, right in this location. It's very, very bizarre. 6 hours back, it's still visible, but it deepens. See all around here, there's like a ring of dry air. It's extending all the way from up here to down here. Alright, this is the jet stream map. Right here is November 9th, 12 Zulu, and we're just gonna see what they do. There's a high pressure ridge right here that's being engineered, and there's a high pressure over towards the east as well. That's how they create the notch. And as time moves on, stuff starts moving off to the east, and well, we're gonna get some offshore winds, I'm pretty sure. High pressure is moving a bit more to the south on the western side. It's just a very, very weird area right here. There's a big opening around 84 hours, November 13th, 0 Zulu. And it won't be for a while until the next storm hits California. 168 hours, a storm looks like it's affecting California. There's a huge flow coming into the central part of the state. Oops. And, well, this is way in advance, so they could change their whole plan. We're gonna have to watch the maps. Okay, this is November 9th going into the 10th, 2032, 0 Zulu. You see that the dry air is still deepening over here, and over in this developing front, it's deepening as well. Yeah, there's not going to be much rain out of it at all. This high pressure is moving more towards the south now. Again, this weird area a little bit northwest of Hawaii is not looking so well, and you can see these things being crushed by dry air. These little storms. Very unusual area, I must admit. Let's slow it down. You see these things getting drier and
being crushed.
Stuff seems to be going in a clockwise direction more. Again, very heavy aerosols over towards the southwest of these storms. They're trying to prevent something from forming. Look at these little lines here. Very obvious that there's an operation here. This whole thing looks like a disorganized mess. It's not good. A bunch of clockwise and counterclockwise and whatnot. Really weird, especially right here. This is visible. Weird opening is still showing up near Southern California. It's a very, very weird area. I'm telling you that. Look at these clouds moving over towards the east a bit. Let's zoom in one more. This whole area is just weird. I mean, it seems like they're trying to shut down the rain. I know they want to keep the drought going. And over in this high pressure region, a lot of these cloudless areas are still expanding in a very weird fashion. It's all around here. There's not a lot of activity in this front starting to develop. That's because there's a lot of dry air. This looks like a lot of aerosols towards Northern California. Let me stop this. These look like aerosols here. They just look all feathery and wispy. There also seems to be less rotation up here, which is kind of weird. There's like a cloud here shooting to the right. Very funny area. Okay, this is November 9th going into the 10th. 2332 3 Zulu. Air's still getting drier towards this front. It's getting pretty deep. You see this right here. This pocket is expanding out to the east even more. And it's probably to reroute and keep this moisture at bay. Because this thing near Hawaii is just... It could turn into a massive, massive hurricane if they just left it alone. I'm almost certain. Okay, not too much left here to show. This is the same time. Let's actually look at this thing near Hawaii. Very weird activity. It's like clouds are disappearing all around here. Again, it's mainly to keep this thing at bay. Them attacking it directly in combination with pressing down dry air here, that's gonna shut down any possibility of rain coming from this thing. See this thing trying to develop into a low pressure system, but unfortunately though, it's not looking good. Very weird opening here. And a bunch of clockwise activity. Clockwise activity right here. So that confirms that there's dry air being pressed down in this region. See right here. Okay, this is the NASA Earth view for the next day, November 9th. Very weird opening off of our coast, can tell you that. Kind of weird over towards this front right here. That wants to come down. Nature's trying to create storms here, but there must be another factor because I just don't see it. In Northern California, there's a lot of aerosols. See the wispiness. They always like to spray into these low pressure systems. Weird line right here. See a little line right here. Kind of interesting. So yeah, obviously they're deploying aerosols throughout this thing. Also, these openings in the clouds and this high pressure thing they're creating, it looks very weird. Just look at this for a second. Please tell me this isn't natural. Please tell me that. A lot of waviness. And these lines are very, very hard. See all around this thing, the same features. Again, a lot of waviness. See aerosols and whatnot, and very strange openings. That doesn't look natural. And that looks very sharp. It's like someone took a knife and then cut around here and removed the piece. I don't know, I'm just trying to compare it to something. Very interesting, I must say. Okay, let's get on. This is November 10th, 1332, 17 Zulu. Well, this is pretty much today, near daybreak. Wow. What a disaster. A lot of dry air being pressed down here. Clockwise rotation. This high pressure is moving to the south more rapidly now. See this whole thing getting drier. Very weird drying near the coast as well of California. That could explain a little boundary right over here. Well, let's look at that. It's very, very unusual. This low pressure is pretty much gone. There's still stuff wanting to develop, but unfortunately though, it's being all shut down by dry air, it seems like. This whole thing looks like a giant mess now. So yeah, they're getting high pressure moved in. That's gonna create some wind for us, and it's just not good. There's a storm in the Gulf of Alaska. It's gonna affect British Columbia, but unfortunately though, with all this high pressure junk, this thing won't be allowed to dip down and bring us in California some good rain. You also noticed that there's a lot of heavy aerosols to keep the jet stream flat, and also down here is to prevent this thing from spinning up. They pretty much suppressed the activity, not much going on anymore. The capping inversion effect prevents stuff from occurring, prevents low pressures from forming. So that's pretty much what they did here. Used both dry air and aerosols to take care of this disturbance near Hawaii. Now you just see a few things bubbling, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be crushed soon. Look at all the aerosols south of all this expanding dry air all around. Seems like they're shutting off the rain today. Moving in high pressure. That's an insane amount of aerosols though. They always do this to suppress rain for Baja and in Mexico. Seems like an act of warfare. Anyways though, my point here is this area of dry air is expanding extremely rapidly now, and see clockwise rotation. Let's slow this down. See the thing expanding, and then there's clockwise rotation. Seems like. Okay, this is the relative humidity map. This is November 10th, 6 Zulu, and you can see that there's a very, very unusual amount of dry air all around here, especially in Southern California. But if you jump forward, look at that. It just goes crazy. That doesn't look natural at all to me. Just a very, very weird, sudden expanding of the dry air around here, and it gets deeper. So yeah, I don't see rain coming into this area today. Seems like they're shutting it down. Quite sad. Just out of curiosity, I brought up the vertical velocity map. Well, see there's a little bit of descending air. Good for them for marking it. Also descending air over here. But 6 hours later, bigger area of descending air all around here and near Baja. There's rising air, then falling air, and it's strong. Strong falling air. It's strong around these mountains. I know that HAARP Report says these things are junk, but This descending arrow for here seems pretty accurate from what I see going on. Anyways, that's just very weird. Okay, this is the rainfall total map for most of California. Down here in Orange County, probably got anything at all. Not even a tenth of an inch where I live. Down towards San Diego, though, they got a little bit of rain. Could have been like a cell or something. See, right here's around like an inch. 2 inches here. It's just not much rain at all. Up in the Sierras, they got a little bit of stuff, but not much. Let's quickly show you the activity for like the last week. This is a combination of both the jet stream and satellite map. Okay, this is the low pressure that was destroyed. It's coming from northwest of Hawaii. See that it gets crushed. There's this low pressure right here that's going to be driven down, come down to the west coast. Unfortunately, though, it's more of like a psychological operation because there hasn't been much rainfall out of it, and I think they just wanted to bring cooler air down.
And cause nasty weather for the Midwest.
Precipitation was severely hampered with this one. Anyways, this is the notch that came down a few days ago. You see this notch moving off to the east. This thing's starting to dip down. There's a high pressure. It's going to start dragging it. See, this thing's in Alaska. Nothing much left of this low pressure now. Over towards the west of California. This right here is the huge high that's going to bring the thing down. And they're also going to have a high right over here. 12 hours later, notch forms, a lot of aerosols and whatnot. It seems high pressure is right above us. It's going to move off to the east now. In 24 hours, the notch is pretty much set up. It's going to deepen. Here's the front right here, starting to develop. Squeezing a low pressure system into a notch. Very typical. Mega high pressure over here and over here. Stuff's still coming down. Here comes the rain. But they were lacing a lot of this thing with aerosols. Okay, just 12 hours later, after November 9th, 0 Zulu, there's nothing really left of this front. So let's keep going on. November 10th, 0 Zulu. This is the rain hitting mainly Northern California and Central California. Down here, there's not anything. It's a very weird opening here off of the coast of Southern California. And you see this high pressure right here starting to go more towards the south. And the high pressure over to the east has moved even more east. This is the most current map. There's just nothing much left. Okay, let's go check the forecast really quick. Forecast for here is clearing, winds 15 to 25 miles per hour. It's a little bit breezy here right at the moment. Okay, sunny, breezy, temperature warms up, and yeah, winds go offshore completely. Wednesday, sunny, breezy. Thursday, warmer, sunny. Friday, warm canyons, northeast 30 miles per hour. You see this typical haze thing right here. That could be an indication that we're going to get sprayed. Anyways, this video's been pretty long. Thank you for watching, and please share. This stuff needs to end.
Okay, it's been a few hours. It's around 3:40 p.m. The satellite map is November 10th, 1930 to 23 Zulu, and, well, looks like they're continuing to press dry air down here, and they're just shoving this thing off now. This low pressure seems to be redeveloping over towards the east, and, well, that'll prime the Midwest for some severe weather in like a day or so. Feel sorry for those people over there. This area of dry air over the Pacific has gotten massive, and it looks like they're going to build in high pressure up here, and that'll bring some offshore winds. Not looking forward to that. Humidity's going to be below 20%, I'm almost certain. Seriously, it gets so dry sometimes when these winds happen that when I touch like the cat or something, I get a little spark. It's not nice. Not nice at all. Okay, this is the relative humidity map now. This is 6 hours after the last one, and you can see that all this dry air here has expanded outward. It's very, very dry right now, and it's not natural. Let me tell you that. Let's view the map from 6 hours ago. Oh, my poor internet. Okay, now it wants to work. Had a little delay. Anyways, this area right here has expanded. They're shoving off the low pressure now. Server's slow. But yeah, you see the difference. Definitely a lot drier. Okay, that's all I wanted to show you.